What are you stressed for? The traffic lights, Allah's going to decree that you're going to reach wherever you're going to reach at that specific hour, no matter how fast your car is, no matter what navigation system you have. That's it. You're going to get there at that appointed hour. Nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. So don't stress. Mahak? Right? The person that you're going to marry is the person you're going to marry. That's it. That's decreed. It's written in your rizq. The amount of money you're going to earn, the amount of breaths you're going to take, the amount of times your eyes are going to blink, the amount of beats your heart's going to beat, the amount of thoughts you're going to have, the amount of cells that are going to change in your body. That's it. It's already determined. It's already, Allah knows it, yani. So why is it that the person has to take that upon themselves and concern themselves with something which they have no control over, and then be worried about that all the time, in all situations, in any circumstances, no matter what happens? And then they say, oh, I'm not happy, not satisfied. And the funny thing is, who do they end up blaming? They end up blaming Allah. It's Allah's fault. Why did Allah do this to me? I'm a good person, I'm a good person. Why did Allah do this to me? Yeah? No. What else did we say last week?
Also, tawakkul doesn't mean that you just sit there and do nothing and say that it's all going to happen.
Right.
You still have to work and do everything, but have tawakkul that whatever happens, whether it's good or bad, comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But out of respect, we say if it's bad, then it's due to our faults or our misdoing.
Right. So what's the essence of that, or what's our understanding of? We know everything's going to happen. It's already been decreed by Allah, and it's going. Come, try and make one halaqah if you can. Right. So we know. I know that the amount of times I'm going to blink, and the amount of money I'm going to get, and the amount of breaths I'm going to take, and so why should I do anything? Why should I just kick back and do nothing? It's a question. Why should I do something?
Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to worship Him, and to do things on earth, so we can't just sit there and expect food to come and, like if one said something, for example, hey, the example you gave is like, don't use your hands to eat. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is allowing us to do that, so we still need to.
Can we also say it's just common sense?
You can say that, yeah, if you want.
Because like when the angel came to the prophet and he said read, so use your brain.
All right, you can say that. What else?
He's God. You're not God.
Explain that. Flesh it out a bit.
If he's God and he's giving you an order and you believe in him, and if he's just like, let's use logic, and he's your God, and you have to follow the orders pretty much.
All right, so now.
I was just going to say, he created us with a choice. If he wanted to, he could have created us like the angels, and we wouldn't have a choice of what we need to do. Right,
so that's basically where it's at. Okay, so Allah Azza wa Jal, He sent the book, and He sent the Nur, the Prophet of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. And that's the example that we follow. He married, he fasted, he broke his fast, he woke up at night and prayed. He didn't wake up at night, slept through the night. So that's the example for us. Otherwise, we would do that. Right? That's what monks basically do. I don't know if you've seen, not to pick on any particular types, but the Buddhists, for example, they don't eat even after 12 o'clock, the Buddhist monks. That's it. They eat only, I'm not sure if it's at night, but up to 12 o'clock midday, they don't have any possessions whatsoever. The people come and give them food, so they're completely in that sense, and for them it's a different scenario. I'm just giving an example so we can understand the concept. So we don't have that in our faith. Our faith is a faith of amal, and as we know that no one will enter Jannah except by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one will enter paradise except by the mercy of Allah. But the levels that we have according to the deeds that we perform. And if our intentions are correct, then even eating and drinking and dressing and marrying and working and all these things, walking, all these things can be something that we earn reward from if we have the right intention. So we want to do so that we can increase with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can increase our state with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we can increase in terms of our levels in the hereafter. And that's the sunnah of Allah. So if we were to say to Allah, if we were just to do nothing and say to Allah, alright, just give me rizq, It's what they call su'adib. It's disrespectful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah, no, like Hajj was saying, He's Allah and we're not. We're not godly in that sense. So that's part of being a servant, is showing that gratitude, showing that servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the submissiveness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is by doing action. Yet our action is not what we rely on. We rely on Allah Azza wa Jal. Now, what else did we say last week?
Going off that, we were saying, like, using the tools from the dunya doesn't mean we're not relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we can still use everything like within the dunya, but as long as we like have the intention that what we're doing is for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
What do you mean?
So, yeah, going to work, for example, when our intentions for going to work shouldn't be just for the sake of like making money and things like that. It should be maybe for da'wah or like helping the ummah. So our intentions are for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then that leads to greater reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Right? That clarifies the reality of the world in which we live in. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He could have given us light without the sun. He didn't need to subhanahu wa ta'ala to have the sun. That's the sunnah of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the sun, and then it's got the gravitational forces and whatever else that go with it, all the other good things the sun does for us. It gives us heat and it gives us light. So Allah didn't need that. He could have just made it be with light and without light, and with heat and without heat, without that. But that's the sunnah of Allah. That's the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does things. And our sunnah is the sunnah of the Prophet of Allah that we follow in the things that we do. Now, anything else?
You also mentioned the story in the
تفضل.
he went to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and said that, what if all creation, not against, but it was against you. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, that can't happen. And then he said, what if, like, that was the case? And then he said that, what if I said I have a creation that can, like, destroy or swallow the whole of creation? And he gave me money.
Grazing, yeah. Well, so what was the point?
The point of that was
What did you get out of it? Tell us what you got out of it then.
that no matter what we do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always know. And He always knows, like, the outcome, why He does things and stuff like that. So we should always rely on Him no matter what. Because His knowledge is so great that even if we don't even know how big this world is, for something to be bigger and greater than His knowledge.
So does that give you more comfort or less comfort? Right? It's the greatness of Allah. It's the vastness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That don't sweat it. Just leave it. Let it go. Be cool. All right. Anyone else have anything to contribute? Or anyone else recall anything about the class last time?
You were saying before that someone who has tawakkul doesn't let the people they support get lost. So we're talking about like financially lost.
Yes.
So if you're supporting,
It's not just financially lost, because the responsibility isn't just the financial. It's to rear your children, for example. It's to make sure that your sheep, for example, are kept at night somewhere where the wolves or whatever, whatever it might be. Lock up your Ferrari or whatever. Don't leave it unlocked. Whatever, Toyota, whatever you got. No.
yes, so someone who's reliant on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still has to look after like their family, for example. They can't kind of just let it be. Like they still have responsibility over their family.
Right. So that's the no.
When you give the example, if a guy went and did like Umrah, like if he can't like just leave them with $10 and just go for 4 weeks, he has to leave them a proper amount of money for them to be efficient.
Right. So the classic that scenario is tied to what we said before. The classic scenario is the man, the Sahabi, was talking to the Prophet ﷺ about tawakkul, and he said, "Ya Rasulullah, should I just leave my camel? Isn't that tawakkul ala Allah?" No, he said, "No." The Prophet ﷺ, tie up your camel, then tawakkul ala Allah. So that's the kind of classic example that, because camels they take off quickly. They're the ships of the desert, so they disappear really quickly. They just go and that's it. You don't know where they are. They're instantaneous. And none of us got much experience with camels, but that's how they are. And so when the Bedouin asked the Prophet of Allah, that's what his answer was. So if we were just tawakkal without nothing, he would have said, "No, just leave the camel. It'll come back. Don't worry." But he didn't say that. He said, tie up your camel and then rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the camel's not going to get lost. So maybe that's your common sense, reasonable argument that you're talking about, right? Or your car or whatever it might be. The thing is, you're not relying on your lock, nor you're relying on the rope that ties up the camel, nor you're relying on your alarm system in your car. You're relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though you're taking with the asbab and doing those things. It's not really that complex, is it? It's not that hard a concept. I didn't think it was. It's pretty actually so simple that it's kind of like not that hard. Yeah, or not?
I think it can be so simple, like we might overcomplicate it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Because most of the things we said, alhamdulillah, which is good, at least, you know, getting some benefit. Now, is there any other questions? No? الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيدا والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنام وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم إننا وإنا التعلم والتعليم والتذكر والتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والدعاء إلى الهدى والدلالة على الخير والحث والتمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسول الله ابتغاء مرضات الله وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى. Praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praise it's worthy of a beneficent sustainer, and we ask our Lord Most High to send copious and unlimited blessings and salutations upon our beloved Prophet Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Amma ba'd. We acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, the Aboriginal people, and we pay our respects to their elders past and present. Come, I'll tell you every week, khalas, just make room when the brothers come, you know, so it can be one thing. Sit here. Keep coming, Saeed. Okay, so it's page what in English? Where are we up to? 121 or something?
121, yeah.
And then we'll just... Okay. قال المؤلف رحمه الله رضي الله عنه وعنكم نفعنا به وبكم واعلم أن الادخار والتداوى من الأمراض لا يقدحان في أصل توكل من يعلم أن المغني والنافع والضار هو الله وحده وقد ادخر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم لعياله لبيان الجواز وأما هو صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم فما كان يدخر لنفسه شيئا إلى غد وربما ادخر له غيره فنهاه عند الشعور به ولما سئل عليه الصلاة والسلام عن السبب. So he says, know that storing things and the treatment of illnesses do not compromise the essence of reliance for those who know that the one who enriches, benefits and harms is God alone. The Messenger of God sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, may blessings and peace be upon him, stored things for those in his charge to demonstrate that it was allowable. As for himself, he never stored anything for the morrow. And if someone else stored something for him, he forbade him as soon as he came to know of it. Okay? So, again, what the Imam is talking about is how we deal with the ephemeral world, the material world that's around us. In other words, the things that are our daily existence, and how do we tie that to having tawakkul ala Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that we don't get confused. Like we said, it's pretty simple, and we don't want to overcomplicate it to get lost. And so what the Imam says, we'll just stick to the English because it's pretty straightforward. He says, so storing things. So for example, crops in the old days, you know, there was a season for dates, for example. Dates is a good example because it's relevant to the time of the Prophet of Allah. So when they harvest the dates, there's the balah, which is like the dates are still hard. They've ripened, but they're not fully soft. And then there's the rutub, and the dates, they become soft. And then there's the tamr. So when they take them off the tree, after they've gone soft in the rutub stage, then what they do is they put them in the sun for a little bit, for a day, a couple of days sometimes, and they dry out, and that's what dates are. So dates are the last part of it. And so they keep those dates generally for the whole until the next season. Because in the desert areas, like for example Tarim, where I was lucky enough to study, there's nothing else. That's it, the dates. Basically that's it. There's goats every once in a while, and there's a bit now it's a bit different, but back in the day in particular there wasn't there. So does that mean if someone's doing that they're not relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Are you sure? Are you sure they're relying on Allah by keeping things stored away? What about by having a bank account or a safe at home?
I think it depends on the context. Like,
Tell us.
If, like the example you gave in Yemen, if that's all they have, like obviously they need to store it because they need a food source. But for example, if I stored bread for weeks on end, when I could just go tomorrow and buy bread, like I think that's a negative of storing, and you're not relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala of when you're going to get your next food source.
With the money situation, you once told us that we can't actually save up money without no intention because we're meant to have tawakkul on Allah.
Right?
If you do save up money, essentially there's an intention on there.
All right. So the first one is that the scenario. Maybe it's not as simple as we thought it was. Okay. So the people that are storing things. It's jaiz. The Prophet ﷺ, he stored things for his family. That's what the Imam's saying in the prophetic tradition. It comes across that the Prophet ﷺ, he stored things for his family, but not for himself. And we'll talk about that. Why that is the case. So let's say the example in Yemen. The tawakkul, in essence, would be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings the harvest, the dates, right? And the tawakkul also would be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this product to be stored. Yeah? Like Allah's made the date. Well, you couldn't store like, I don't know, apples probably. Apples wouldn't store. They'd have to, bananas. Without freezers, and we're talking about before. Even when you freeze it, even when you put things in the freezer, it's got a life. You know, it burns after a while, bread, meat, whatever it might be. So everything's got a life. So the person doing that, their tawakkul is on Allah. Allah gave us this harvest, alhamdulillah. It's not for our own purpose. It's not through our own energy. It's not through our own capacity, through our own knowledge, or whatever you want to call it, our skills as farmers or whatever. It's directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that Allah made this product, whether it's grain or rice or you know, chickpeas or whatever the different types of lentils, right? Whatever the different types of akwat, they're called staples, whatever it might be. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made that and He allowed us to have the harvest, and this product can be stored. So storing it, it's not lack of tawakkul. What lack of tawakkul would be is what happens today. So they pick the fruit, the vegetable, it's still green, hard, and they bring it and they gas it and they put things on it to make it ripe within a day or two, and then they sell it in the souk. It has no flavour. They sell it in the shop, in the marketplace. It has no flavour. It's actually very detrimental to one's health, not beneficial to one's health. So they're not relying on Allah. They're relying on their own skill set and their own, you know, advanced technologies and whatever else to get forward. So whether a person has or hasn't, whether you can go to the shop and get or you can't, that's got nothing to do with tawakkul. That's got nothing to do. There's no nexus there between what's here today and what's... Because your tawakkul should be that whether the shop's there or not there, Allah's going to give me my rizq. That's my tawakkul, right? But my deed is that I wake up in the morning, whatever, I want to have whatever, cornflakes and milk, go to the shop, get the cornflakes and get the milk. You with me? So the physical action is one thing. So my tawakkul isn't that I can physically go there. My reliance isn't on my physical capacity to go there and my physical capacity to bring out the money and pay all what it's tapped these days or whatever to get the cornflakes and the milk. That's not what I'm relying on. I'm doing that, but my reliance is on where? On Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that's the slight difference. Okay? It's got nothing to do with what's available yearly or not yearly or whatever the case might be. There's no... that's not what it's about. It's about the internal state. Because the tawakkul is, for example, even with the fridge scenario, the power goes out or the fridge wrecks or the flood or fire or whatever it might be. So if my tawakkul is on the thing, then of course whatever happens, happens, and I don't get any benefit with Allah Azza wa Jal by relying on that thing. It's actually, in a sense, if we want to think of it that way, it's even like shirk, right? Not like big association of partners with Allah, but it's relying on other than Allah. When we say, La ilaha illallah. So when we spoke about the rest of it, the Prophet ﷺ, he showed us, and the treatment of illnesses, right? So the treatment, this is a very, very amazing point actually about the treatment of illnesses. The Prophet of Allah, ﷺ, some people came to him and they said, Ya Rasulullah, we're ill. And he said, look, go to this village. There's some, not village, go to this tribe. They've got camels there. Drink the urine of those camels, but don't slaughter the camels and eat them, right? And they went there and they drank the urine and they got better, but they, astaghfirullah, they slaughtered the camels and they ate them. Another person came to the Prophet of Allah ﷺ. He had like a mental illness. You know, there's some problem mentally. So the Prophet of Allah ﷺ said, get the ajwa dates. You know, the ajwa dates, they're very good dates. Get 7. Grind them, you know, in that pistol, what's it called? So you all know, alhamdulillah, right? Grind it up, put a bit of zamzam, and then give it to the person to drink. Okay? With a placebo, some of you are medical people, with a placebo, how many percentage of people, what percentage of people get cured with a placebo?
It's a high percentage.
Come on, all you medical people. Seriously don't know? 70%. Right? 70% of people, it's the first standard deviation, 67 point, what is it?
Yeah,
67.7 or 66.7? 66, it's that. It's the first standard deviation. So people, they're sick, they feel physical sickness and ailment, but it's not a physical remedy that cures them. What does that tell you? Right? Tells you that in the first instance that most illnesses are not physical. Most illnesses are either a spiritual, they're a metaphysical melee, whether it's spiritual or mental. Actually, when I read, I had the conversation with the doctor to make sure that I wasn't going to tell you something that's not true. And he said even for himself that when he got stressed out, his issues happened with his blood. And then when he wasn't stressed out, his blood was fine. He told me what it was, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not medically trained in that sense. So it's verified in terms of science and in terms of medicine.
Mind over matter.
Well, it's not really mind over matter. It's the spiritual, because we had a long conversation about it. It's not that. It's that there's either the body's weak, right? Either there's a weakness in the body that can't handle the intensity of the mind or the soul, right? Or there's an imbalance between the body, mind, soul paradigm, which is the same thing really. When you say there's a weakness in the body, what we're talking about is an imbalance. So the Prophet of Allah ﷺ saying to people, drink the urine, for example, get like ajwa, it's a dates, right? Get him. But you trying to tell me he didn't know about the placebo effect? Of course, it was what used to happen before. For those who don't know the placebo effect is, they used to try all these new drugs, and they used to have 2 groups. Actually, they used to have 1 group back in the day when they first started, and they'd give them all the drugs, the medicine, right? They'd give them all the medicine, and automatically 70% of the people would get better. And then they realised, wait a minute, something's going on here. How can every drug be the same? It was always the same statistics, even on the drugs that didn't work. So now they have 2 groups. One's a control group, and one is the actual group getting the medicine. So one they give like sugar pills to, all right, which is the placebo, which is nothing. In other words, like a dummy for a kid. And the other one they give the actual medicine to. And for the medicine to be considered to have worked, it has to be above that 70%, 66.7, whatever it is. That's how it works. So that tells you that all the physical things we feel, all the pains, all these things, really, they're a result of a weakness of spirit, or a weakness of mind, or a weakness of body that can't handle the strength of our spirit and our mind. And the Prophet of Allah is saying, take with the asbab when it comes to that. Get the dates and crush them up and give them to people, and people are getting better. So the Prophet of Allah, he knew about these things, right? Sugar pills. It may not be. Others, he said, go to this well and get the dirt from the well, mix it up with water, and drink it. Right? Not to say there's barakah, of course. Whatever the Prophet of Allah. Someone was telling a story the other day. Someone was sick, cancer. They went to the Prophet ﷺ. They went to the Qabr al-Sharif, and they made dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them shifa. So the shifa is from Allah. There's no doubt about it. And we said the placebo effect, but that's really from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, I'm just giving it so you can understand the difference. And that's why we take with the asbab. That's why, for example, from that example about the urine of the camels, Abu Hanifa and the Hanafis, they say that if it's a homeopathic medicine that has alcohol in it, it's okay to take that medicine if your doctor is a Muslim and they say a Muslim Ameen, in other words they fast, they pray, they're not just one of those Muslims, and they prescribe for you a medicine that has alcohol, then it's okay in that case. And there may even be the prescription of alcohol depending on one's, but there has to be a Muslim doctor who's Ameen, means a practicing Muslim doctor, then that's okay in that situation. So that means we take with these. But you don't have to with medicine. And the Shafi'iyah, if you don't want to take the medicine, the Shafi'i say that it's okay not to. But obviously if we look at the placebo effect, it's probably a good thing to do. So of course it doesn't compromise as long as it says, for those who know that the one subhanahu wa ta'ala who enriches, benefits and harms is God alone. And that's where the tawakkul is. That's where the reliance is. That I'm taking this thing. Even some of them, they say the dua, like it's made up dua, it's not much known from the time of the Prophet of Allah. When they take medicine, they say, Allahumma shafi, Allahumma kafi. So Allah is the He's the shafi, He's the healer, and He's the kafi, He's complete for us. We don't need really the medicine, but we take it because it's the sunnah. The Messenger of Allah, ﷺ, we just spoke about that, stored things for those in his charge to demonstrate that it was allowable. As for himself, he never stored anything for the morrow, in other words, for tomorrow. And if someone else stored something for him, he forbade him as soon as he came to know of it. Okay? Who thinks they can think why the Prophet of ﷺ didn't store things for tomorrow for himself? No.
He might have had his own station.
Of course he does. There's no doubt about that. No. So what's the reason? Okay, that's one thing that if he fasts, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him food and drink. What else? Right? It's a lesson for us in that. Yep. Anyone else?
He'll be sufficed for the next day anyway.
So. Right, Allah will take care of him. Okay, mainly it's because the prophets, their inheritance isn't darahim or dinar. They don't have anything to inherit. The inheritance, that's, the tariqah they call it, the estate, which is the correct word, the estate. In other words, what property the prophets leave behind is what? Knowledge. Right? So they don't store any of those things because they don't want to give. That's not what they want to leave for their beneficiaries, for their heirs. They want to leave knowledge, which is the beneficiaries of the ummah. Now,
with storing, is it just kind of just keeping for the next day, or is it like hoarding?
Now this doesn't say hoarding; it says storing. Al-dikhar, to keep it. So hoarding, and the other question that we had, hoarding, whether it's money, whether it's things, whether it's whatever. Like we know today, it's a spiritual, metaphysical melee, whatever you want to call it. It's some mental illness, and those people are not counted in what we're talking about. So it's the person that has whatever, $50, $100, $1,000, $10,000 in their bank account, and it's going through their mind. They haven't got a purpose to keep it. They're just keeping it because for a rainy day. That's where the issue is, that their tawakkul on Allah, their reliance on Allah is not proper. They haven't got proper reliance on Allah Azza wa Jal. If they've got $1 million in their bank account, right, and they're going to build something with it, a house, they're going to buy a factory with it, they need 1.1 million, for example, and let's say 100 million, they've got 100 million and they want to, buy a company, whatever. To keep that 100 million even for a year or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10, as long as they're paying zakat on it, it's still tawakkul ala Allah if they've got a purpose for it. But someone who's got $100 or $10 in their piggy bank, no one has piggy banks anymore, right? Whatever, the money boxes, okay? If it's 100 or 10 and they're just thinking that I'm going to keep it, but they've got no intention to use it, that's when it becomes impermissible. Because what are you keeping it for? You should be using it, you should be giving it fi sabilillah. You should be trading, selling, loaning it, doing something with it, not just holding on to it. Why are you holding on to it? It means the person holding on to it is not relying on Allah.
For example, you have a savings account and you have an intention.
So what's the PIN? What's the PIN number? Oh no.
Sorry, I didn't even know it.
Yes.
Alright, and you do have a rainy day. Is it the same thing if you take out money from that savings account?
So the question is, if you have a savings account with money in it,
with the correct intention.
and you've got the correct intention,
yeah,
and something else happens and you use it for that other purpose, alhamdulillah, that's okay. No problem. Yeah, because your intention was to buy, loan, whatever it was, buy a car, fix you know, I don't know, get something done for yourself personally, have a whatever, you know, donate it. They're going to build a mosque, they're going to do something, donate it, use it to go to Hajj, whatever, get married, whatever it is that you had the intention for. But something else came, it's fine to use that money, and it's not a lack of tawakkul ala Allah, abadan. That's actually يرزقه من حيث لا يحتسب. That's where a person gets sustenance from, they don't know whence it came, because they never had the intention to use it for that thing, but Allah kept that money for them and they used it for that thing. That's a good question.
What about if you just save it for like a spontaneous thing that might pop up? Like,
That's a rainy day, isn't it? Right? So the question was, what about saving it for a spontaneous thing that might pop up? That's the you know, the rainy day. So every day is rainy for us, you know. So it's okay. Or every day is sunny, whatever you want to call it.
Same as, I guess, sickness. Like if you think, you know, in case, like let's say your parents are getting older, so there's more likely chance of them getting sicker. So saving it for that purpose, is that?
So the question is, what if you're going to save it for your parents? In the future, they might, as an example, they might be older, they might need, you know, a nursing home or whatever the case might be. If it's for a halal purpose, then it's okay. Because the building, you know, the building you might want to build, the company you might want to buy, the car you might want to purchase, you may not be able to purchase it. But that was your intention. You may not be able to go to Hajj. They might not give you a visa, for example, whatever the case might be. But your intention was a salih, it was a righteous intention that was halal, then it's jaiz. It's okay, in other words.
Car insurance.
Yeah.
Me personally, I feel that it's the same case, same scenario, that there's a certain limit as to like what kind of car insurance you get, but you can still have to work it out a lot. But I know other people that say it's completely haram.
So the question is about car insurance. Insurance in and of itself is in takaful, it's called, is completely halal. You know, the Muslims have been doing it for a long time, and it's masnoon, it's in the sunnah as well. So insurance in and of itself isn't haram. The issue is that these companies, they take your premiums, which is not theirs until the year passes, and they invest them and make billions of dollars profit, and they don't give you anything back. So if I take your money and I'm going to do something with it, then it's your money, it's a trust. It's not my money, only my money when the year passes. So in Malaysia, there's takaful insurance companies where the first year you pay your premium, the second year, by the third year you actually earn income because they're investing the money and they give it back to their shareholders or you know, members or whatever you want to call it. Now, that's the reason why it's robbery, basically. That's what, you know, all these insurance companies are doing. They're just stealing your money, right? So in and of itself, it's not haram. Okay, then we've got to look at the waqi' al-amr. In other words, how things are in this country. In this country, I'm a solicitor, so I know about these things. 15 years ago, when you had a car accident, they would just work it out and then the insurance companies would talk to each other or whatever. Probably about 7 or 8 years ago, now when you get your policy, it says, even if it's your fault, don't admit liability. So the issue is, if you don't have third-party insurance, you're going to end up in court, even if it's not your fault. So my advice to everybody, and it's almost wajib, I would say, because cars these days, even a little Corolla, like the latest model Corollas, the cars we consider, they've got crumple zones. And so if they have an accident going 40 kilometers an hour, the whole car's a write-off. And so you're looking at 20 grand, 15 grand, 25 grand. And it may not even be your fault, but because of the way the system is, you're going to end up in court, and then you're not going to have a lawyer, it's going to cost you, 10 grand, 15 grand to defend yourself. Good luck.
So is that any type of insurance? So like, because I know you can get insurance in case you have
So
an
that's
accident with someone else.
that's third-party property that you're covered against any damage you do to someone else's property.
That's right.
We already have third-party personal liability, which is the green slips you have, because back in the day they didn't used to have that.
That's right.
So people, when they get into a car accident, they'd get maimed, and then that's it. They'd just be a burden on the rest of financial burden on the rest of society. So the government bring that policy in, so that whoever's like a driver pays sort of thing. If you're on the road and someone gets injured, we all chip in, and that fund is used to pay out anyone who's maimed on the road. Then there's comprehensive insurance, which is your car and the other person's car. That's a different story. That's something that, so there's three three rulings on that. Some of the scholars say it's completely jaiz, completely halal. Some say it's completely haram, and some say it depends on the circumstance. So it's up to yourself. Well, the issue there is that our imams, they it's not nice to say this, but it's the reality. They need to come up with a ruling about this and publish it and let us know how it's done. And we have asked them many, many, many times, and they haven't done it. So I can only tell you what I know. But we've got
difference in opinions.
Yeah, most things is difference of opinions, but the difference of opinion, right? That's why we have a mufti. That's what the mufti does, right? Or the qadi or the imam of the Muslims makes a ruling for this country, and it might even be a ruling for Sydney that's different to Melbourne, and then it publishes the ruling, says fatwa kaza kaza, this number of this year, and for this period I say that this is that. Like housing loans, for example, back in the day. Now there's heaps of Islamic, so-called Islamic and Islamic ones. They've got to look into them, and they've got to tell us.
It's also quite complex. I think we don't have the someone who is well equipped in the who knows all the insurance, the complexities of that, and the Islamic knowledge as well. I don't think we have that knowledge to be able to come up with a ruling for that.
So the comment was that maybe the knowledge doesn't exist from an insurance point of view and from a Shari point of view. There's, mashallah, great scholars amongst us. There's awesome scholars. And the other thing is that what the scholars do, like when I asked about this medical thing, I went and spoke to someone who's a doctor. So I'm not a doctor. I don't know what we can and can't say about the placebo effect, right? But he knows. So he told me, and that's it. From what he told me, from the evidence that he told me, that's how so that's how it works, right? There's other things going on, but it's not really any of our business. But our business is that we should know these things. There should be very clear guidelines, and if it changes in 5 years, that's fine. If things change in the marketplace where there's a halal, now there's halal superannuation. When I did my superannuation, there wasn't halal. I had to get the financial planner in, and then he picks every single one up. This is halal, oh, this is right, and then it comes up. It can be 97.5% halal because you have to have 2.5% cash. That was the law. I don't know what they've done to get around it. They said it's halal, let them deal with it. So things change. So what was permissible back in the day it was just eat meat. As long as it wasn't pork, it was all right because you can't find it. It's hard to find the halal. Now, mashallah, it's everywhere the halal. So you can't do that. So everything's relative to the type. That's when we discussed that previously about fiqh and how fiqh works. So of course it should be. And it should be, this is the ruling of this year. And then in 5 years they say that ruling that we made 5 years ago doesn't apply anymore because of these reasons. That's what fiqh is. That's how Muslims and human beings, when it comes to law, there's a thing called the Gazette. Every time there's a new law published, a new legislation, new statute, they publish it in the Gazette and they say this section of this act is repealed and it's replaced. In other words, they stop using it and it's replaced by this section. It's how the civilized world works. That's how the Muslims work for centuries, but that's not the case, unfortunately, today. And that's why we have the situation where that's why half of us, 3/4 of us are confused. It's the reality. I'm sorry to say it, but that's the reality. And 95, whatever it might be. And then there's me just saying what I understand, but that's may not, it's not across the board. So that's one of those things that, inshallah, just ask the scholars to do what they can to fix it. And make dua. So when he was asked, this is the next part. ولما سئل عليه الصلاة والسلام عن السبعين ألف أو 70,000 الذين يدخلون الجنة بغير حساب من أمته فقال هم الذين اللهم صل وسلم عليه لا يسترقون ولا يقتون ولا يتطيرون وعلى ربهم يتوكلون. تفضل. Come in. You can sit on the chair if you like, or you can sit on the ground. So he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, when he was asked, may the blessings and peace of God be upon him, about the 70,000 from his nation who would enter the garden without first being judged, he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, They are those who have no recourse to charms or cauterization or necromancy and rely on their Lord. So this Prophet of Allah ﷺ giving us, if you want to come forward so I can see one of the books. And there's a book there for you to have a look at. So this is on page 121. So the Prophet of Allah ﷺ, he was asked about there's in the hadith it says that it was mentioned previously by the Prophet of Allah ﷺ, that there's 70,000 people that will enter Jannah bila hisab. They will not be judged. Allah Azza wa Jal won't judge people. Won't judge those people when A'udhu Billahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They won't, that's it, they'll go straight into paradise. They won't worry about the day of judgment, all the things that go on, the people sweating and the people going grey and all these things. Afwan, no sirat, no mizan, there'll be no judgment of their deeds whatsoever. Express, if you like, into Jannah. They asked it and he said, they are those who have no recourse to charms or cauterization or necromancy. So these things are specifically, they're revolved around the metaphysical melees that people have, right? And they're revolved around, charms in terms of, how sometimes you see the eye? You ever seen that eye, the blue eye and all that, and say, oh, this thing is, what do they call it? Yeah, it like repels the evil eye. How can it repel the evil eye? It's only Allah Azza wa Jal that does that. Okay, so they're the charms and all those things that the Prophet of Allah was speaking about. And those that get affected when by metaphysical things, whether it's ayn or whether it's the evil eye, whether it's sihr, whether it's black magic, or whether it's what do you call it, jinn possession, or someone's possessed by a demon or something like that. These people, they rely fully, and that's what the Prophet of Allah ﷺ is talking about. They have no recourse to anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in other words, they persevere. They maintain that self-control that we spoke about in the book of the chapter of Sabr previously. And they look only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So does that mean that if someone has one of these melees that they can't seek the help of someone who knows what they're doing? No, that's not what it means. It means that those people that don't seek that help, and we're talking about the metaphysical states, not the physical states. So, if you're hungry, go get some food, right? If you're a farmer, plant something in the ground. Go, like Ali Allah Marda Anhu, the cousin and the son-in-law of the Prophet of Allah ﷺ, needed food for his family. So what did he do? He went to a man, and he was strong, Sayyidina Ali, and he pulled out pails of water from a well. So he got the pail, the big buckets, and then he pulled out the water. And then when he got what he needed, he said to the guy, I'm going home now. He paid him per bucket. Right? So it's not that we sit around and do nothing and don't get him. They're the worldly things. But this is about more metaphysical things. So when the metaphysical things occur, what is our response to that? And so this is what this hadith is about. No.
Got a question from someone.
Fadla.
Assalamu alaikum. Can Shaykh Haisam explain the part regarding cauterization? It's a common procedure for ENT operations to seal off the veins in the nose and tonsils.
No, it's not that. It's not that cauterization in terms of the medical procedures, right? It's these things are involved with, like I said, with black magic and jinns and the metaphysical. This is the person. Yeah, but that's a bit different. Again, that's what do they call it? ينظرون بالنجم. They're looking at the stars. They're the astrologists. So this is a little bit different. This is about the people that they don't because that's what reliance is it not? Reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the knowledge or the conviction that all things come from Allah. Yeah. Isn't that what it's about? Some of you don't look certain.
It's faith.
Right?
Intangible.
Okay? It's intangible. It's metaphysical. That's what we mean. So it's a state of being. It's a belief, if you like. Okay? So in terms of the state of being, the spiritual melees that affect a person, they're not really physical. Does that make sense? So the evil eye, as an example, right? Is it physical? Is it like a laser, like in Return of the Jedi? No, right? Is it like a magnet or something like that? No, it's a in other words, it's not physical, it's not tangible. You can't touch it, you can't bottle it, you can't catch it. Yes? Can't measure it. Yes or not? Yep. So those are the things the Prophet's talking about. That when a person, alayhi salatu wasalam, it's not like the cauterization that was mentioned in the question at all. That's totally physical. Yeah or not? They seal people and do whatever, and noses and ears and hearts and different factors. So it's not that. It's not that at all. It's the metaphysical. Because those people, when they have a metaphysical melee, in other words, when they have a spiritual melee, when they're ill spiritually from whatever it might even be their own, when I was ujub, right? Their own, no, probably that's the right word, for ujub, right? Their own narcissism, but it's all self-delusion, right? And they think that they're actually detrimenting themselves, through the videos they see of themselves, for looking in the mirror all the time, and their own, I'm a top person, I'm a strong, I'm good looking, I'm whatever, popular, I'm intelligent, whatever. Even one can do that to oneself. It's that's the good old photoing of food, and everywhere you go, you have selfies and all that sort of stuff. So probably narcissism is probably a better word than self in today's terminology, language. Okay, so that's what the cauterization is, or necromancy. So these are about a person when they've got a spiritual melee. The ain, for example, as one, right, or even hased. Even jealousy, people are jealous of someone else. You can't measure it. So instead of running off to this person to do this and to the right numbers, they do all the heaps of different stuff that people use, to get around these things. Okay, so but the person who stays away from that, the 70,000 people that stay away from all those things, if they have a metaphysical melee, in other words, they got an ayn or they got hased on them or whatever it is, they completely rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those are the people that will enter Jannah without being account. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala won't take their account. No.
So how much Imam takes into a chef so he can read on you?
Right?
That
That's a good question. So what about if your mum or someone or yourself go off to a sheikh? Would that still? It's not haram. You got to make sure it's a sheikh and not a charlatan. Okay, but that's not going to be of that 70,000 people. It's a lower level. Does that make sense? Yeah. And it's maybe not for everyone. And look, at the end of times, these things become more and more and more, because the Dajjal, and like we said previously that, King Arthur had Merlin the magician, and, what's his name? Pharaoh had all these sorcerers, and that's been the case throughout time, that the rulers have always had people that did magic, help them maintain their rule, right? Because a lot of the time, or all of it was dhulm really, in reality. People who rule by what is justice, they don't need that. Whoever rules justly, they don't need, kahins and wizards and no.
Today's on TV.
Right, whatever. It still goes on, but we just don't, we don't see it and we don't know it like we used to. So as the time of Dajjal comes closer, those things will become more and more prevalent. And not only that, our connection to the metaphysical, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is weaker because we have so much materialism. We have so much materialistic things around us that our connection to Allah is a lot. It's not as strong as it once was, because we don't see the crops growing in the ground, and then what the farmer does, fertilizing and irrigating and whatever else the farmer does, and then cultivating, and then the stage that it goes through to be ground and turn into wheat, and then from there how they raise it and how they knead it and then make it into dough, and then how they leave the dough till the next day till it rises a little bit, and then how they put it in the ovens to cook it. We just go and get it off the shelf. If we're lucky these days, we don't even do that. You just go on the app, home delivery. You just don't have to pay. Actually, nothing happens really except the goods, because in reality it's just digital transfer of digits. That's all that's really going on. There's no physical thing except the good arriving at your home. Someone bringing that good, and so when those things occur, unfortunately, naturally, we have a less connection to Allah. Because where's Allah in this equation? There was never a stage where we waited for the crops to grow, or never a stage where the crops failed, and instead of having however many tons of wheat, we had half that or a quarter that. You with me? We're not attached to that reality of tawakkul ala Allah in the majority of our life events. And so, as that increases. Now it's even watches, you can answer the phone now on the watch and whatever. You don't even need your phone. You get a watch with a SIM card in it. Amazing as it is. Like we used to see that on TV when we were young. It was the Jetsons, they used to talk on their phone. It was a cartoon, it wasn't even real. Now it's real. So the more that increases, the more our tawakkul will decrease unless we're conscious of it. And the consciousness of it is that everything we do is with dua. Everything we do is with consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and knowing that Allah is behind whatever we see. So those people, they're the ones that will go to Jannah without any hisab.
What does this say for necromancy and Arabic?
It says...
I wrote definitions for those. I've got definitions for those.
You tell us.
Recourse is access or resort to a person or thing for help or protection.
Yep.
Cauterization, to burn with a hot iron, for example, for healing. So
Yep.
I think maybe that's the medical term.
That's the medical term, yep.
Necromancy is a method of divination through alleged communication with the dead.
Sorry?
A method of divination through alleged communication with the dead, so black art.
Right, so that's the Ouija boards and all that sort of business. And like I said, that's what's going to happen at the end of time when Dajjal comes. People are going to say, he's going to say, I'm a god. They're going to say, as if you're God. They're going to say, what? If you want, I'll bring your dead parents or brother or whoever back from the dead. And they'll say, no, you can't. They'll say, okay. And then two demons will come that will look like their parents, and they'll come out of the grave, and people will start to believe that he's God. So like we said, the Ouija boards and all that business, when all the black arts. So that's what we're saying, because what it is trying to overcome whatever melee one has in a metaphysical way. So basically what that means for us is metaphysical melee should be dealt with metaphysically. Does that make sense? Like the Prophet of Allah ﷺ, he had an answer. What's the answer for sihr? Right? Okay, the three quls, and there's specifically in Surah in Safat, that's the first 10 verses. Right? There's specific medicine in the Qur'an, metaphysical medicine. Does that make sense? Metaphysical medicine, which is Allah Azza wa Jall's intervening in that situation to overcome those melees, rather than relying. Really, what they're relying on all these things is what? The shaitan. Really. If you go to the Shaykh, if you go to somebody, if you've been afflicted by sihr, which is a spell. So all those things you see on TV like fairies, they're jinns. Elves, jinns. Trolls, jinns. One of those little gnomes, like the garden gnomes, jinns. They're all those things you see, they're all jinns. Right? Some good, some not so good. But they're all jinns. I don't know if you ever gone on YouTube and looked up weird photos. They actually photo them with those cameras that get wildlife. They photo in jinn. They photo jinn, subhanAllah. And because even the Prophet talked about it, I can't remember which Sahabi it was, but Prophet ﷺ put a circle in the ground and he made a dua and he said, don't leave this circle. And the Sahabi said he saw all these amazing creations, how they look, and they all came. The Prophet ﷺ gave Surah to jinn, he gave them da'wah, they all became Muslim, alhamdulillah. So we haven't had words like this since the time of Sayyidina Musa. So anything that is otherworldly, if you like, any reliance on anything other than Allah Azza wa Jal, that's where the problem is. That's where the problem is. And now today, that's what it is. What does everyone talk about today? Oh, this person is jealous of me. I got ayn from this person. Hold on a second. What's ayn mean? What's ayn? Means to be seen. Yeah or nay? Yay or nay? What's Facebook? What's Snapchat? Right, here, see me. It's a cry for see me. And then we say, oh, I got afflicted with ayn. What are you talking about? I want to be seen. I want everyone to see my beautiful eyelashes and my groomed eyebrows and my long nails and my bulging muscles and my designer label clothes. And then later on I'm complaining, oh Sheikh, my shoulder, oh I can't get married, oh this, oh well it's your fault. Don't go be blaming people. Don't go blame the people that they've got empty hearts because they're not even believers or whatever. Don't blame them. Like, you want to be seen. Person who wants to be seen, you're going to cop the ayn. Whoever wants to be seen is going to cop ayn. That's it. In other words, evil eye, if you want to call it that. There's no way around it. If you want to be, sexy and you want to be trendy and you want to be cool and you want people to see you, you're going to live your whole life with ayn. Your whole life. And then the other one is hased. They say, even the scholars say, that hased kills people. In other words, jealousy. Well, if you're not telling everyone how good you are, who you know, where you've been, where you're going, who your friends are, how much money you earn, how much you paid for this, well, what are people going to be jealous of if they don't know? What did he say? Take care of your needs with what? Secrecy and silence. Secrecy. Where's our secrecy? We're at the thing, buying the car. There's a photo, 1,000 likes, and then we're complaining of sihr, and we're complaining of ayn, and we're complaining of hased, magic. We're bringing it upon ourselves. And that's the melee of the end of time. That's the melee of the end of time, because the Dajjal, he's building that business up, and the Shaitan, they're building that business up, and we got shares in those companies. We're paying with our hard-earned cash to buy, design a label, and show. No one likes this hadith. Should we just change the hadith?
No.
We just talk about something else?
No, keep going.
Because we bought into it. We're not paying with our money, we're paying with our lives. We're paying with our deen. We're paying with our iman. We're paying with our tawakkul ala Allah Azza wa Jal. And then, then we complain. Then it's the Shaykh couldn't help me out. The Shaykh's a person, he's a human being. And if Allah puts the shifa on his or her hand, it's good. If He doesn't, we've got to take responsibility for ourselves. And alright, it's the modern world and that's how things are. Hey, between you and Allah. If you want to go and do that, and you want to go talk about how good you are, and take photos about every single thing that you do, and post everything. I know it's hard, and I know but that's not the reality of this world. That's the falsehood of this world. That's the untruth of this world. And we're all buying into it, and we're deeply invested. We're so deeply invested we can't pull our money out. If that for a finance, we can't say no, that's it. I'm getting off these things because I think that I'm not going to find out what's going on. I don't have any of those things, alhamdulillah. I know everything that's going on because people got nothing else to talk about. Something happens, someone went alhamdulillah, mass shooting somewhere, something. Everyone's telling you what are you going to miss out on? What is it you're going to miss out on? And what's the benefit going to be? Your mind's going to be at peace. Your mind's going to be easy. Even someone was saying that there's a black guy in the United States. He wrote some articles and some video monologues about himself and how hard it is and disadvantaged black people are. And then he was getting all these comments, and his first time wasn't really used to it. So he said, no, I now was starting to interact with people that were not from my community. So he said he put on a different, social persona, like a different name, and then he went and joined all the right-wing groups. Yeah? He joined all the right-wing groups to communicate with people but not. And what was his conclusion at the end? They're just like me. Because people are telling them, well, you've got white privilege, and they don't want to hear that. And I'm being told that, I'm a black person and I'm disadvantaged. He said, we're really the same thing. Really, there's no difference. And guess what his answer was to fix up all these problems? Conversations between people, not on the internet. Yeah, that's what's been happening for millennia. So what is it that we're missing? What is it that we're not going to get from not having what interaction? We're only interacting with ourselves. It's an illusion. Right? It doesn't even exist. It's just in a server somewhere. It's just a bunch of electricity going around in a server in some forlorn country in the world, right? And that's our lives. That's where we, and that was the point I was going to get to. In that, he said, when I started to get involved with these right-wing groups, he had to put, bad comments about black people and stuff like that. And he said, I was getting so many likes, I was even almost starting to believe what people were telling me in the likes I was getting. And he was totally against, that's what happens. That's what happens, right? That's what it's there. It's like getting us to think a particular way, but it's targeted at me. It's not mass communication anymore. It's not mass anymore. And the algorithms within your so-called social media are targeted specifically for you in accordance with what you click on. So all it does, it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy about how great I am and that I'm fine, I'm okay, it's all good. Which is entitlement, really. So if you don't want to be ayn and hasid and you think that you can't get married because you've got ayn on you and hasid on you, just leave that stuff. Seriously, I know this is not what I wanted to speak about, but that's where we are. Think that you're not getting enough money because you've got ayn, just leave that stuff. Get away from it. Don't tell people your intimate secrets. Don't tell people what your plans are for the future. My goal is in 5 years I'm going to be the CEO of whatever. My goal in 5 years. Why are you telling people that? Why? Just to convince yourself? It is. Right? Why do you want to convince yourself? Or by telling someone, convince yourself, and you don't need to tell anyone. So, misfortunately, unfortunately, these are the things when A'udhu Billah Azza wa Jal that we sold our soul to. Like, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. We've sold our soul to these things. We've given up our metaphysical state to a computer. Like I said, it's not even really a computer. That's the fine. That's what we see at the end. To just a bunch of electronic blips, ones and zeros, right? That's what we've done. We've sold it. We've sold out. We said, here, Dajjal, sorry, right? Here you go, Shaitan, take it. Yeah, I'm a Muslim, but don't worry. I'm going to give it up to you. I'm going to give it up. And that's what we've done now. On even the stuff that we use for work, the storage used to be, they used to store it for you on your hard drive, right, on your machine. Now, even your own files, there's no way. I spoke to my IT guy, he goes, oh mate, sorry, we can't get around it. I go, what do you mean I can't get around it? He goes, what happens now, it's all stored up there, right? And then when you want to look at your own stuff, you have to download it. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. It's mine! No, wait, hold on a second. No, it's not anymore. Yeah. What do you mean? And you're telling me we haven't sold? And that's just work. That's stuff that really it's not mine anyway. It belongs to my clients. I don't put in my personal stuff up there. And having personal stuff on the computer, what for? What do I take photos of myself for? What reason? To do what? Like later on to say, look how old I am now. Back then I was young. Right? So that's what we've done. We said, here you go, take my soul. I'm going to give it to you. And they've said, yeah, we're going to take it under these conditions. When was the last time you read the accept, all the terms and conditions? I tried to read it the other time. It was 44 pages. It was 44 pages. 44 pages for me to use, a word processing program. Why does it need to be 44 pages for me to use a word processing program? Why? Like all I'm doing is, again, doing electronic things, and I can't even store them on my thingy bob anymore, on my machine. I have to store them somewhere up there. So you ask yourself that question. If you can't get married, if you can't sleep at night, if you've got stomach problems, if you're, and you go to the doctor and they can't work out what it is, if your neck's sore and your back's sore and your shoulders are sore and you can't sleep, you wake up in the middle of the night and you see weird dreams, and every job you go for you don't get, and then you hang out with a person for 6 months and then all of a sudden they don't ever want to be around you anymore. They don't want to talk to you, whatever the case might be. You can't get married. You're married and you're having problems. It's our own fault. Because we're putting, like I said, we're putting our metaphysical state, we're making it physical. And then of course people are going to see it, and even on Facebook, as we do it for the class, you see all the people that look, like the friend suggestions. Who is it? The people that have gone and viewed your thing. Like it's the same people. I'm like, now what? I don't even know these people. What? And then one of them I do know. I'm like, why is this bloke always? Is that trolling as well? When they're always looking at your profile or whatever? Is that trolling?
No, it's just
stalking. Right? Why is this dude stalking me? Like I don't even know the guy. I'm really nice to him. Why is he stalking me? I don't have anything personal on that. I have nothing personal on it. It's completely just for da'wah, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen. Please do.
You said you're putting our metaphysical state, onto the internet and all that. So how is it actually meant to be, our metaphysical state?
It's yours. That's a great question. So the comment was that, how we're putting a metaphysical state, meaning our happiness, our sadness, our emotional being, our spiritual highs, our spiritual lows, our successes, our failures. Isn't that funny? I always like the funny fail army, like even that we're putting on, and we're saying to the world, and we're not even really saying to the world, we're saying to the thing, just you keep it. That's what it is. Once it's on there, it's not yours anymore. It's not yours. That's why it's 44 pages. And who knows what it's going to be later on. Who knows what it's going to be. It's only getting scarier and scarier and scarier and scarier. So, where are our metaphysical states supposed to be? What's the answer? Who can tell me the answer to that? Not you, Haj. No? Where are we supposed to store our metaphysical states? Right. In the great server in the heavens, on the seventh heaven. Right. That's where they belong. That's where they belong. That's where our emotions and our happiness and the people that love you. If you see a dream, right? The Prophet ﷺ said, if you see a bad dream, what should you do? Right? Don't say anything. If you see a good dream, who should you tell? Only the ones you love and trust. Why? It's metaphysical. It's a metaphysical state. The dream is not real, but it kind of is, because actually your body changes and it's metaphysical. So it's not really physical, it's not really totally non-physical. It's that area between the two. So once we give that up, what have we got left? We're signing it away. I agree. No.
How do you know when, I'm still a bit confused with metaphysical. How do you know when something, for example, illnesses, that is physical or mental illness, how do you know it's metaphysical or it really is a physical illness?
So that's a good question. How do you know when something's a proper illness or when it's a metaphysical illness? So, like we said, most illnesses are not physical anyway. When we talked about the placebo effect, that's 70% gone. So 70% of illnesses, and this is confirmed by my doctor friend who I spoke to. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical person. He told me, so I asked him that question. So can I say that, or can we say that because of the placebo effect, 70% of disease and illness, which is really what's called dis-ease. That's what disease is. Dis-ease. In Allah yuridu bikumul yusr, jazakumullahu khairan, which is what? Ease. Allah wants for you ease. What's disease? Dis-ease is the opposite of that, which is negative, right? Whatever you want to call it, shaitan, dajjal, whatever. It's negative. Okay? So, I said to him, I asked him the question directly. I said, does that mean that we can say that 70% of illnesses are non-physical? He said, that's what the researchers say. I said, is that what you're telling me? Or is that what the medical researchers in these different fields say? He said, that's what the medical researchers say in the field. So that means that, what's that irritable bowel syndrome? No one knows what it is, right? They have a different, what causes it? Right? Stress. Right? Isn't it stress? Mainly stress. What is that, physical or metaphysical? You with me? Or you're not with me?
Yeah.
Kind of or not? So, straight away, 70% of the physical feelings that we have in our body are not because of a physical problem. Like if I have a back pain, it's because I'm leaning on one side or I'm sitting too much, as an example. I've got a pain in my back. That is a physical pain because it's caused by a physical effect. Okay? Or I have high cholesterol. Someone, la samahallah me or anyone, someone's got high cholesterol. When they eat fatty foods, what happens? What happens? Right? Their cholesterol increases. So that is a physical illness because it's caused by what? A physical stimuli. Yeah? Something physical. I punch someone or they hit their head or something and they cut themselves with a knife. Right? Tell me. What? How? Right? Because a physical thing being the knife physically cut that person. Yeah? That's a physical. That's 30% of illness. So 30% of illness is eating too much fat, eating too much sugar, eating too much carbohydrates, not sleeping enough, dehydrated, whatever. It's a physical effect and has a physical reaction within the body. 70% of illness, right, are because we think too much, we don't think enough, whatever. All the negativity that's out there, or lack of spiritual strength, too much thinking, not enough thinking, weak body, whatever it might be. But it's the manifestation physically of something that's not a physical illness. So it's not a knife cutting us, it's not us ingesting something, it's not being hit by something, right? It's not, whatever, getting cold and then, your immune system drops and then, you get sick, flu, whatever it is. Yeah? Right? So, that being the case, with the metaphysical illnesses, then the solution is not a physical solution. Right? So, someone who's got, men now, what do we got? Severely low testosterone. Like it's a worldwide epidemic, low testosterone. What's the answer to it? Don't stress, don't smoke, don't drink, right? Sleep early, and I think coffee or something like that. Something, right? So basically, and that's actually, that one's probably more physical because they're saying it's all from the pesticides and whatever we're getting. So the metaphysical melees, they can be cured by a non-physical remedy. Okay, so that's the placebo effect. They give you sugar pills, I'll come to you. They give you sugar, they give the person sugar pills and it goes away. Is that clear or is not clear or kind of clear or some of it's clear and the rest of it isn't? Tell me so I can explain it to you. Okay? So, just because there's a physical effect in a person, it doesn't mean that necessarily it's a physical melee. Most of the time, it's not going to be a physical melee. Right? Most of the time, it's going to be something else. Too much thinking, perturbedness, stress, whatever it might be. No.
I just had another example to add to
Please.
to the metaphysical melee. So if we're really tired, for example, you know how we should do like the dhikr before we sleep, and the next day you wake up stronger. So that's like your medicine to the tiredness. So
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
So the tasbih al-Fatimiyya, for example, 33, Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, 34, Allahu Akbar before one sleeps. That's going to give you that spiritual power, right? Because that's what the Prophet said, it'll help. Because if there's a lot going on up here metaphysically and in here, and then أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ, only by the remembrance of Allah Azza wa Jalla will the hearts be at ease and be content, then you're getting rid of the spiritual melee.
Can you say that you need all three aspects of your body, your spiritual, your physical, and your mental, all working in a proper balance, so you can't focus only on your mental and spiritual only, and completely disregard your physical?
Great question. So the question is, does it have to be spiritual, mental, physical? Isn't that Sirat al-Mustaqim, really? It's all the halal and things, okay, but that is all tied into that. Yeah? The Prophet ﷺ advised us about how to eat. Did he or did he not?
Yeah.
How to sleep, when to sleep, all how to dress, how to shower, how to clip our nails, when to clip our nails, how to start. All those things he advised us about, alayhi salatu wasalam. Plus about how to get to Allah Azza wa Jal. Plus how to use our minds, reflection, all those things. So really, if you want to, in my view, Allah knows better, that's really the Sirat al-Mustaqim, because it's the balance. It's the balance between, and that's the challenge, right? If every single day you could sleep at 9:30, you wake up at 4 o'clock for tahajjud, whatever, every single day without fail, eat at this time, and keep your perfect schedule every single day, you would become a mountain of spirituality, and a mountain of intelligence, and a mountain of physical strength. That's how anything that's like that. Now,
How do physical illness depend on mental state?
explain what your question a little bit better.
So say my asthma, that's a physical, I think, because my lungs closed. But I know for a fact that if I know that my cough is not there, I get anxiety, and then I start thinking, and then I get an asthma attack. So
All right, so that's a good question. So that question is between the two. So someone's got a physical melee. They know that if they smell dust or they get into a musty room, their asthma kicks up. That's a physical, no doubt about it. So the question is that if the person with the illness, if they don't have their medicine with them, they get anxious. And that anxiousness brings on asthma attack. Yeah, is that the question? So that again, shows the strength of one's metaphysical state. The metaphysical is so strong, that the mind over matter and all that business. The metaphysical state of the human being is so strong that it can bring on a physical reaction to a metaphysical condition or thought or whatever, to a thought.
It can be the same with any illness, and that's the same with the pills. Because mentally they think they're taking something, and then the illness goes.
Yeah, that's right. So that's exactly what we're getting to. So the comment was that can be the same with anything else, and of course that's exactly the state. But what we say is, as believers, we say that's shifa from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without the use of any medicine or whatever it might be. Now, any other questions about that? No.
Remember we did shukr 2 chapters ago. In terms of the second part of shukr where you say your proclaim it, so like you've got like
Yes.
like what's that like? How do you make sure that doesn't get to hassle?
All right, that's a good question. So we said that the Prophet ﷺ take care of your affairs in secrecy and silence, and then there's the shukr aspect of it. That when a person says, "Alhamdulillah, Allah gave me strength. Alhamdulillah, Allah gave me intelligence. Alhamdulillah, Allah gave me Islam." So again, it's like the dream that you see, the good dream. Only when you need to say that. It shouldn't be that we're like the best hamd is Alhamdulillah ala ni'mat al-Islam. But even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Qur'an that the disbelievers, they're jealous that you've got Islam, and if they could, they'd love to take it out of your hearts. So you need to even be careful about that, when you say it. So generally the scholars previously, the Salihin, the righteous people, they only said Alhamdulillah over something when it gave other people strength. Generally that's when they used to do it. So if someone was weak in their faith, or they were doubting that Allah was going to give them rizq, like some sustenance or something, then the righteous people would say, Alhamdulillah, this is what happened to me, to give people thubut and strength and firmness in Allah Azza wa Jal. That's probably the only time you should use it. Also the scholars and the ulama and the awliya, the salihin, they tried to refrain from giving examples about their own life as much as possible, and they would either talk about their teachers or our ultimate teacher, al-Ustaz al-A'zam, Rasulullah alayhi salatu wassalam. Right, and the Sahaba. That's the best way to give the examples, right? But in our day and age, like I said, we're doing it to ourselves. So if we can refrain from doing that, if you can get off your Snapchats and get off your things or put things on there that don't relate specifically to you. Because look, all of us know that, going back to that example, we know from our page, that one time, Abdul Faqir, I went to a wedding and then someone put the wedding photos up. There was like 100 likes, just from photos at a wedding, right? And then we put all this profound stuff about Allah and about the Prophet of Allah. You get 5 or 10 likes. You with me? So that's actually what's going on. Like, to be really specific to you, so you can get the picture. People want that. People want to take that metaphysical. They want to steal it. They want to take it. They want to own it. They don't want, they don't want to go through the experience themselves. They want to take your experience. And that's what causes the metaphysical melee. Right? They don't want to go and climb to the top of the mountain. They just let someone else do it, and they got that, whatever it's called, that camera, GoPro, right? And whatever, it's cool. That's it. Someone else has done it. I watched it. That's enough for me. I'll just live in my little box with my little electronics things going on and off all the time, and I'll just scroll. No, was it like that? Swipe or scroll or whatever. That's my exercise for the day. So, like, I know, but you've got to think about that yourself. Think about the things that are going on in your life. Why are they in this condition? Why are you in the condition you're in? It's 99.99999999999% of the time. It's because of what we do to ourselves. It is not because of what others do to us. It is because of what we do. بما كسبت أيدي الناس, with the hands, with the things that people do with their own hands. So use your hands for something else, something useful, something beneficial for yourself, not for me. I'm not on that stuff. I don't put personal stuff. Rarely, every once in a while when it's for dawah, I put something. But the rest of the time, I never photo my food and put it on there. And that's just, if you really want to get sick and have stomach problems, photo your food and put it on the internet. Really, if you want to have irritable bowel and unirritable, whatever, all the other melees that are out there, then do that. The pious, you know what the pious people used to do of old? I'm talking back in the day. If they went to buy bread, they said, "Can you get me the bread from inside and put it in the bag inside?" Inside. Today we buy our food. Where is it? It's all on display. How many eyes have come and seen it? How many different people? Even the milk, everything's on display. Everything. The milk, the bread, whatever you're getting is on display for people to see. And then we say, "Oh, I don't feel good. I'm putting on weight. I'm not putting on weight." Whatever the case is. Answer's there. It's through our own want to be known and to be recognised and to be seen and popular and famous and whatever you want to. You know, like these people that are internet stars or whatever, like their reality, and it's that. You know, like what's anyway. It's a lot of Sayyidina Muhammad. So who has to go? You can leave, inshallah. Is there any other questions?